All right, welcome to Podcast Live. I'm your host, Rafael Kalamat, and with us today we've got some really special guests. We're going to cover what happened over on the weekend, talk about just golf, and with us we have three guests. We got Michael Bleackley from the VGT Amateur Player, the Vancouver Golf Tour, member of Mayfair Country Club as well, in Richmond, BC, CEO of Evolve Digital Media, and our new partner, Golfcast Canada West. Welcome, Mike. Also, we got Adam. Does everybody know Adam? Adam does a pretty good job, don't you think?
I think Adam's a behind the scenes guy,
You
right?
think? Is he behind the scenes?
There's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Well, he's done a great job. Look, he's with Golf Talk Canada. He's also with Mark Zucchino and Bob Weeks weekly on the radio and television. He covers hockey, and we're really happy to have him here with us. You've been doing this for a little while, Adam, and we follow you, and I'm really glad to have you on the show today. Also, unexpectedly, we have former CFL legend. I'm going to call you a legend, brother. Kevin
Right.
Smellie. Is he there?
I guess I can. I'm
There
here.
you are.
Yeah.
But you're also an amateur golf player. You're a single digit handicap. We were joking around before the cast that maybe that was for 9 holes or 18, but you're saying you're a solid 10. You used
For
to be a 7.
holes, maybe. No.
But
Yes. Correct.
well, congrats. 4 years on the Toronto Argonauts. We have common friends. Peter De La Riva used to come into my
Correct.
shop over in Montreal in the mid 2000s and take some lessons. And then there's Eugene Clark I play with on a regular basis. And it's funny that you guys see each other at your alumni
Yeah.
get-togethers, don't you?
Yeah, it's correct from time to time. Yeah.
And we met on the set of Netflix. We can't really talk about that because we have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
an NDA. But that's how we met,
Yeah.
doing some golf lessons on the film set. And but you're planning to launch your own podcast, so we'll talk about that briefly later.
Okay.
Did you guys catch any of the golf this weekend?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, a little bit of
I
it, for sure.
will admit there was a slight couch nap during the final round, but I did end up watching more this morning and caught Golf Central in detail. And
Cool.
this Hovland kid is unbelievable. It's
Hmm.
I love that he's smiling all the time. It kind of makes me think of Matt Kuchar, high on edibles. And then here's this kid running around, happy, go lucky, and what a golf game he has. He really made it interesting. Couple bogeys through the back nine, but he ended up slamming the door on the field. It was very impressive for back-to-back win.
Yeah, the
You know,
worldwide
a lot of
technology.
these young guys, are ready. Like they're coming out of college and they're just ready to go. And I know I've played some rounds with some college guys, a couple guys from UCLA, and they were just like going. They went low. I mean, the
Yeah.
guy just shot. We were at out in Ajax there at the Watson's Glen. The guy just seamlessly shot like a 66,
Whoa.
and
Wow.
it's unbelievable.
And left
Yeah.
a few out there, no doubt.
Absolutely, it was
Always.
a joke. It was a joke for these guys to, on a par 5, to be putting for a par.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, we're looking at Viktor Hovland. He's 24 years old. And speaking of college and university golf, he came out of Oklahoma State. A star-studded group of players came out of there, including Ricky Fowler, I believe.
mhm.
He's ranked number 10 in the world now, um, with a very cool trophy. That chameleon, I love it.
Yeah.
Um, but he's got an improved short game. I'm really surprised on how he stuck to his guns even after he was dropping. He didn't have his driver in place. I think he had a replacement driver. It was a shorter driver. He's playing that
Yep.
low power fade, pretty great. And Mayakoba, what a beautiful place to be. Adam, did you catch any of that?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, the story with Hovland with the driver, giving it to Danny Lee, doing some speed training drills on Wednesday before the tournament and breaking the driver. So he's sort of like, now what do I do? And to getting a driver an inch shorter and about 10 yards shorter, he was saying, as well as a result of the shaft being a little smaller on him. But, this is a guy who played well at the Ryder Cup for Team Europe, one of their lone bright spots, really. And he's going to be on many, many, many European Ryder Cup teams to come. And, you think of that class graduating from college, Colin Morikawa, Viktor Hovland. Good to see Matthew Wolfe playing some good golf again, too. The future is bright for all three of these guys.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And then, a couple of guys chasing. We had Carlo Ortiz, Justin Thomas, Scottie Scheffler. Even, Anser, Garcia, and Lee were in there for a while, just a couple of strokes off. But how about our Canadians? Nick Taylor, 10 under, not too shabby. It's pretty good for him. And then Taylor Pendrith, missed cut. But after last week, I think he was celebrating that second place finish. He's not second place. How did he finish? Last week was 5.
It's top 5.
Top
yeah,
5.
Yeah, top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah,
he's long. Like he's really long, that guy.
I love that swing. It's really slightly unorthodox, right? He takes it up really steep, and then he comes through shallow and follow right across the line. Yeah. Except that cost him on 17 last week, though. I think when he came right across, double crossed it.
Definitely some nerves there for that. He probably was trying to make an eagle desperately, where he hits it so far he could have hit a 3-iron short of the bunker and had an iron in the green and went about it another way. But that's a learning lesson for Pendrith, and I hope to see him more in the mix on Sunday.
One of you guys mentioned Danny Lee. Like, what's going on with him with that DeChambeau setup and that quick release? I'm like, wow, I was blown away. Like, when did that come about?
You have to think that the DeChambeau effect will translate a little bit, because Bryson's gone from being, a decent length hitter to one of the longest guys out there, and
monster.
There has to be. It's kind of like the Happy Gilmore flick with Shooter practicing the running tee shots secretly. You got to think some of these guys are. And Danny Lee's swing on 18 on the third round, I think, was evidence of that. He absolutely pumped it, and.
Well, it's the same thing, too, with Rory McIlroy. We heard his comments at the Players' Championship last year, how he's chasing speed, and this is a guy who's one of the longest players on the PGA Tour, and still trying to chase speed, trying to get that extra 10 yards. And, if you see Rory McIlroy in person, you think, how on earth is he one of the longest drivers on tour? Because he's not a big guy, but, you see Bryson DeChambeau, and, last year at the Masters, he was essentially, he looked like a bodybuilder. So it's just the way, the DeChambeau effect, how it's clearly changed his game. And, people forget, too, that he's one of the best putters on the PGA Tour as well, using a very unorthodox method.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see not only the change in technology, but the players, transforming their bodies through nutrition and fitness and really becoming a sport. People are saying, golf's not really a sport. It's more skill oriented. Absolutely. However, you're not running from one shot to the next, but the movement's really athletic. You need strength, you need agility, you need flexibility, and it needs to be repeatable. And that's a huge thing. You look at all these Canadians that are playing out there right now. Corey Connors, Graham Delaet, Michael Glicic, all of them need to be named, because a lot of Canadians don't know who they are, and they're not household names. And only until they get, they win a tournament do people know who they are. But Adam Hadwin, Svensson is playing really well. He had a pretty good tournament. Nick Taylor, Roger Sloan, Mackenzie Hughs, Taylor Pendrith. The list goes a little deeper. And then we can't forget our ladies, Brooke Henderson, and then we have Alena Sharp. And, they're standing on the shoulders of people who had a really tough time getting there, like Jim Rutledge and Mike Weir and David Morland. And there's a lot of unsung heroes, Stephen Ames, but, there's a lot of guys who played a couple of tournaments out there. One of my mentors who got me into the game early on, and he really took me to another level, was Bob Boschman over at Oakdale. He played on tour, played a couple events, won back in the Vermont Open back in the day, and he won over in Portugal as well. So there's a lot of guys that nobody knows about.
Yeah, now, most of these young guys, the Canadian guys who are doing well out there on PGA Tour, are they off the Mackenzie Tour, or Are
There's
most of them off the Mackenzie tour? Or?
a lot of the guys actually have like Hadwin, Taylor, and Svensson. They've all come out of the VGT out here on the West Coast. And Fraser Mulholland put this together in 2006, I believe, is when he started, and it's been great. It's opened up the door for not just pros but amateurs to get into competitive golf. And Ontario has the Great Lakes Tour. And there's a lot of small mini tours out there that feed to the Mackenzie Tour. So I think Canadian golf is in a great place, and I'm hoping to see more and more names come out of our country.
Okay, now guys, I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian. I'm sorry. You know, I think the golf world does the fans a disservice in that I think they pump up the athleticism of the modern golfer a little bit too much. You don't have to be a great athlete to be a great golfer. And look at John Daly. John Daly says himself. I mean, he hits it a mile. He hit it a mile, but he's a guy with great skill, great hands, great natural movement. Yeah. And just, you know, if it wasn't for some of the personal things in his life, you know, we may, you know, have heard about John winning a lot more majors and stuff like that. But you don't have to be a great athlete to be a great golfer. And, you know, people talk about Bryson DeChambeau. If you put him in the, you know, with the average track athlete or the average running back in the NFL or the average man, he's going to look very pedestrian.
Yeah.
Now,
good point.
Listen, I worship the floor they walk on when it comes to golf. I'm, you know, I'm definitely not anywhere in their stratosphere as far as how good those guys play. They're tremendous. It's tremendous. I'm not putting them down at all. But I think we've got to be careful not to, in my opinion, to put golfers in the same level of athleticism with your, you know, with your great track athletes and your great gymnasts and your great football players and your great baseball players and things like that. I think, because like I said, you don't need to be a great athlete to be a great golfer. But you need to be a great athlete to be a great football player. You need to be a great athlete to be one of the best track guys. Usain Bolt. And
Adam, you want to touch on that?
I don't want to take up this whole thing, but
no, we got time.
Listen. I love golfers, and Rory McIlroy, all those guys. I'm big fans of those guys, but I do not have the respect for their athleticism as I would like a Usain Bolt or a Michael Jordan or one of these guys, or you know, King James, right?
I think the argument there would be you have to be a great athlete in certain areas. You have to be strong in certain spots. You know, you look at Phil Mickelson, you know, in 2004, you know, when he lost that US Open, you know, when he called himself an idiot, he wasn't exactly the smallest human being in the world. And now, you know, he's doing this intermittent fasting. He's completely transformed his body. You know, obviously golf is different in terms of you're not in an all-out sprint for 30 or 40 seconds like in an NHL shift or an NFL play. Right. But you know, obviously hand-eye coordination has to be a big thing. A big thing for sure. And, you know, you look at guys, you know, John Rahm, you know, maybe doesn't have the perfect body, so to speak, but he has incredibly strong legs. He's incredibly strong core. And if he didn't do the workouts that he did, especially, you know, he wouldn't have the longevity. He wouldn't have 15 top 10s and 23 starts, whatever it was last year, and you know, being world #1 for a big reason. So it's a good argument. I think you have to be a different kind of athlete for sure. But that's where it goes both ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I think you do need to be a different kind of athlete, and they have become more athletic. Of course, Gary Player was a forerunner as far as athletic. I mean, guy did like 100 and 200 push-ups a day, sit-ups a day, or something. Whatever he did,
he was 1,000.
Wow. Sorry, Gary.
They used to give him trouble because they thought he would wear himself out. So all the Jack and Arnold would laugh at him and tell him to stop training. But look at him now; he's 80-something doing jump kicks on the Golf Channel, right?
I love Gary Player, and I do agree with you. It's a different kind of athlete, but I think the commentators, you know, when they say, as a former, you know, athlete, I did decathlons. You know, when I hear people say, "Oh, he looks like a running back," I'm like, no, he doesn't. No, he looks like a linebacker. No, he doesn't. Not even anywhere. Like being in locker rooms and seeing guys who look like you drew them You know, I mean, I have a little bit of a dad bod now, but I used to have a decent, pretty cut up guy back in the day. You know, and I look at being in locker rooms with guys who are just, you look like you drew them. And then when people say, you know, these guys look like linebackers and running backs, I'm like, no. But again, last thing I'll say, amazing golfers. They're amazing. And like I said, I would take a lesson from any one of those guys on any day of the week, because their golf skill is tremendous.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you say that too. Just one final thing on this. You know, talking about athletes, and you know, we talk about Tiger Woods and how he changed. Yeah. You know, golf fitness, and you know, obviously he's injured what seems like every bone in his body now. You know, and there's overtraining, right? So maybe he did that. Like, hopefully we see him back very soon. It seems more optimistic than it ever has been. But obviously, watching his swing evolve and change, you think back to 2013 when his back went out, how different his swing was. So he was much over the ball. And, you know, when he won the Masters in 2019, it was more free flowing. It was more that sort of thing. So obviously, different players have different golf swings and train specifically for that part of the body.
That's a good point, because Tiger was probably as close as to the Olympic level athlete as there was, because he did Navy SEAL training time that people didn't know about. That came out after the fact, and he ran miles and miles before every round he played. And I believe he stated he's regrets running so much, because all of that is just done, you know, help to, you know, torch his knees and his body. But you know, he also propelled the generation we're seeing right now, like the last 10 years, going back to Thomas and Spieth, but all these youngsters coming out right now, even in the LPGA. I think it's that Tiger effect delivering a different work ethic into golfers. And you know, and I don't know if you remember, there was a commercial years ago with Tim Herron and BJ Singh. BJ Singh's working out, he's running on the treadmill, and then Tim Herron walks by with his hot dog. And he looks inside and he's like, there you go.
So we're seeing less and less of that right now. You know, less Tim Herrons, less Dailies. You know, we're not seeing like Stadler types playing, you know, guys who are, you know, 5'9", 250, right? You've got the athletes, you got the Morikawas, right? Who are fit. You got you know, Dustin Johnson. Right? And these guys are working out. They don't look like an athlete that is extremely fit, but they are. Both cardio-wise, strength-wise, flexibility. They're working out every day. They're putting in 40 to 50 hours plus a week. So these guys are working at their craft and their skill level. And unlike other sports where, you know, let's say tennis, for example, you know, you're using one tool. You've got to learn and master all of these tools. You play a different golf course every time. And I'm going to argue and debate over the fact that it is a marathon. You go play a hilly golf course and play for 4 days. There's a pace of play in tournament golf that would knock any amateur on their ass. Absolutely. Because you've got to get going. And the heat they play in, you know, it's you got to stay hydrated, and you're moving, you're trucking. I played Hogan Tour back in Quebec. You know, it was Assistant Tour, Pro Tour, and it was tough. It was tough. You know, we're playing 2 to 3 rounds like the Champions Tour does, and it was difficult. You know, these guys are it's another level. It's the 1% of the 1%. I don't know.
I would agree.
Unless you follow these guys, you know, I covered the President's Cup. I covered 6 Canadian Opens. I've traveled to the Middle East. I followed Rory when he played the Dubai Desert Classic. You know, these guys are incredible, just incredible.
I absolutely agree. The golfers have come a long way. Of course, the Tiger effect, that's the reason why I started playing golf. And the reason why a lot of minority people have came to golf, Tiger, of course, and that's a good thing. But and I think one of the things that a lot of people don't see about golfers, which shows that they are great athletes as well, is that on camera you can't see uphill lies, and sometimes they're severe uphill lies, and when they swing perfectly in balance, and you can't. And like, you know, I was playing at a course the other day, and I had a severe side hill lie. And you know, you got to come it's more like a baseball swing, right? Because it's on a side hill, and if a golfer did that on camera, you wouldn't be able to tell as much that they're on this severe side hill lie. But I came out of my stance and, you know, hit it as good as I could. I mean, and that's what shows the higher level of golfers of today, that they're balanced. They're and always in tremendous balance. And again, don't get me wrong, I think golfers are tremendous. They have tremendous skill. I just think sometimes the commentators, get over their skis a little bit when they try to make them sound like they're these, they're right up there with the King James of the world and as far as just top level athleticism.
I hear you.
But like I said, they're tremendous. They're tremendous athletes. I mean, I do agree with that.
So the Champions Tour, we're just going to pivot a little bit and shift over to the Champions Tour. Speaking of longevity, these guys are now playing for some decent money. Champions Tour, the other day, I hit myself in the head earlier because I was looking for all my old golf cards from the 90s. I have senior tour cards from, upper deck cards, and I couldn't believe all the players that I found. And Mike and I actually went through some of the players and talked about them because you forget about them. But you're looking at somebody like Mike Weir, who on Sunday shot the lowest round on Sunday. I don't know if anybody noticed the 7 under that he played. And he's made $2.5 million this year on the Champions Tour. Not too bad. He's top 10 on the Charles Schwab standings. Did any of you guys catch some of that Timber Tech?
I did.
No, I did.
It's obviously being 48. It's the dream to.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy.
Tour, but got some work to do. But it was great. I mean, here's something I thought was interesting. Stephen Alker, who ended up winning. It was 2,709 days until his previous win.
Wow.
And Tim Petrovic, who had a shot, it's 6,034 days since his last win. It was back in 2005.
Petrovic has been living out of his bus for the last 30 years, I think. He's a hardcore grinder, man.
Yeah, but you gotta tip your hat to that. It's perseverance to keep going at it, and golf is a game. It just keeps kicking you while you're down. Like it's a ruthless sport, and sometimes we question why we're so passionately addicted to it. But seeing these guys have such a long drought and then pulling it off, it's just fantastic.
Wow.
Right? And Jimenez and Furyk right there behind it. It's really like a flashback to 10, 12 years ago, and the depth on the senior tour right now it's amazing. And just wait a few more years if Tiger's healthy. That tour is going to explode.
The product is
fantastic.
Great. Yeah, Mickelson's looking great. He almost uses it as a warm up, and he's having a good time with all the boys that he used to play with back in the late 90s, I guess, early 2000s when he was at the top of his game. Adam, have you followed the Champions Tour at all?
Yeah, 100%. And, we mentioned Mike Weir there, and obviously the year he has had with $2.5 million. But, for a lot of years there, it appeared that Mike Weir might be finished. He had just had a lot of different health issues, a lot of injury issues. He couldn't keep a driver on the planet. And, now he's he's changed his swing. He's talk about fit. He's ripped.
He is.
And he's a guy who's totally, got back to he's always one of the top short game guys, even, think back 2003, won the Masters. But when he won that tournament earlier this summer, beating John Daly of all people, it's just a good game all around, keeping it in the fairway. It's great to see the depth of Canadian golf from some of the younger players, the up and comers, all the way to, guys like Mike Weir, who have been around for quite a long time and now succeeded.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry for the cough.
No,
sorry about that.
Hey guys, are you familiar with any of the rules the PGA Tours are putting in place for 2022? There's the new driver rule for 46 inches and the new greens book rule. And what that is, let me just read this to you. All right. In short, as of January 1st, 2022, players and caddies can now only use committee-approved yardage book and will no longer be allowed to use information or technology to read slopes or greens. I don't know how you feel about that, but you still have to make the putt. Yeah. And how are they going to, enforce any of this? Any comments or suggestions?
I mean,
yeah,
go ahead, Adam.
No, it's interesting. I have no idea how they're going to enforce this. I mean, you wonder how guys like Bryson DeChambeau, who's religiously looking at the book. Phil Mickelson, all these guys use this book. I'd be curious to. I've never used one. I've never tried one. I'd like to think I'm a fairly decent golfer, but nowhere near a professional golfer. In terms of how much it actually helps, will this help pace of play? Will this slow down pace of play? Because now they're trying to figure out, okay, the 3-degree slope on this way, figure out different angles. I'm curious to see how on earth they will enforce this.
They can enforce it, and then there's the during the day the green speed actually changes. Grass grows. It gets hotter, it gets warmer. The greens speed up or slow down based on the weather. I mean, it's there's the argument is it undermines the skill of the golfer by using technology. But we got to go with the times. I think we're allowing rangefinders. We're allowing for so many things. If Bryson's going out there with a level and he's calculating mathematically on where he should hit it, give me a break. He's one of very few people, and if he could figure it out, good for him.
Now, but if that's in a practice round, shouldn't anyone be allowed to experiment or educate themselves during a practice round? Obviously, during competition, that's extremely frowned upon and illegal, but this is a really slippery slope, and from what I'm reading, they have to limit what notes they write in their approved books. So where is the rules officials going to get involved here and penalize somebody for writing too much information? Like Bryson DeChambeau is always a great example. He thinks, and Phil too, they think so mathematically, and there's so many data points that they're digesting, and so their notes may be more difficult or more different than what Daly's putting in his book, for example, right?
Well, I mean, the example that you gave there about the grass growing, golf is a game of minutia. We know that, and every sport evolves. Every sport is evolving, and the equipment obviously needs to evolve with it, and so. I don't have a problem with the newfangled gadgets that have come out, and I mean, it's not cheating, it's just modern technology, and if we can, push the limits and push the envelope there, and have people shoot better scores, I'm all for it.
Yeah. And historically, the biggest change of equipment in the game that's lowered scores is the lawnmower.
Okay. No, that's a great point. That's a great point.
When golf started, they were let the sheep run out in the field, and the drunken Scotsman ran around and tried to find their.
You're going way back now. You're going way back.
But going back, like the equipment that they're using, even at my club Mayfair Lakes, we were on Global last year because our superintendent Greg. Used a different method, and it was fantastic. The greens were playable almost immediately after they were punched and aerated.
Wow.
But going in the early 1900s, the lawnmowers improved a lot. So that bodes a long way into us being able to score.
It's true. It sounds like a joke, but it's actually plays a big factor. I mean, the way they press the greens and the way the fairways are meticulously mowed. I mean, balls run further now because of things like that. I think it's tremendous. I mean, and then another thing is the golf ball. That's a whole nother show.
Oh, that's a whole conversation.
You can break that down for an hour.
But to your point, Kevin and Mike, I was watching Wonderful World of Golf, the old Shell series with Gene Sarazen hosting, and you had Sam Snead playing with Jack Nicklaus. It was incredible. These guys were playing with those persimmon woods, and they're shaping the ball, and they're playing at Pebble Beach, and on those bumpy greens, and they're still under par. Jack won it 1 under, and it was a showcase. And these guys were just. It just goes to show how good they were with that technology.
Yes.
And I'd love to see an event like the British Open, and I've been saying this for maybe 20 plus years, is a standardized golf ball. And I know that we have it for every other sport except golf.
Yeah.
It's almost like, these golf ball companies have so much pull and so much sponsorship in the game that there's no choice. I don't think they could drop the ball. No pun intended.
I agree.
It's
So
true.
I was gonna say I missed that. There's someone drilling a hole in my condo building. You guys heard that?
Well, look, let's wrap this up a little bit. You know, I want to finish off with something pretty funny. We've all hit terrible shots, horrible shots. I
Oh my
don't know if you
goodness.
could think of a story where you were extremely embarrassed hitting a shot either at an event, a corporate event, a tournament, or with some friends. And I'll start. I'll be the guinea pig here. And I was thinking about this earlier. I was playing in a college tournament up in Belleville, Ontario at Trillium Woods. And I was playing in a four ball with my buddy Steve Pike for Humber College. And I was on the 14th hole or the 15th. Anyhow, it was the second shot into a par four. I took out a four wood and I hit it 50 yards out. I was trying to hook it around the tree. I hit the tree and it went 100 yards back behind me because I hit the tree
Wow.
so hard. And so that was a pretty embarrassing moment for me. But you know what saved my day is the fact that I had my only hole in one at a college tournament, and that was there. So two holes
Wow.
after I got my first hole in one, never got one since, and so that's my embarrassing story.
Well, I have an embarrassing one. Oh my goodness, it was at Glen Abbey, and I was with three other buddies of mine, and we were playing. We got to the 16th? Was it the 16th hole where Tiger hits it over the out of the bunker?
18.
18.
Sorry, yeah. What time was everybody? Glen Abbey, 18th hole, and so I hit my ball in the bunker, and I'm like, oh yeah, so here's my chance to see what I could do. Right? So embarrassing. I get my feet set, and like an idiot, I change levels and I go down. I dip down, and my ball, I stick it right in the sand, and the thing that went 100 yards was my golf club. Just came 100 yards. I kid you not for it, and the ball may have I went a little bit to the side, like about 5 yards, stayed in the bunker, and people, because a lot of times at Glen Abbey, people watch to see what people do in the last hole sometimes, or whatever that day. There were people watching, and I just heard this chorus of laughter, and my buddies were just laughing their heads off. I mean, I didn't hear the end of it for a while, but that was really embarrassing. When your club goes further than the ball,
Yeah.
yeah, you got that's comedy right there.
Good job. Good job. Mike, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few way too many embarrassing stories, but they all sort of are on the same subject of me hitting drives that are just miles offline. So I'm currently a 3 handicap in terms
Love
of
it.
playing, but I'd say I'm
Good
a
job.
+3 in terms of my 4 calls. I have world-class 4 calls because I'm so used to missing fairways, 30, 40 yards wide and going into the other fairways. I'm a member of Bayview Country Club in Toronto or Thornhill, I guess. And I'm so used to, politely going over, hey, sorry about that. Hopefully it didn't hit you. Have a good day, yada, yada, yada. So I do that so much where I hit balls so far offline. In terms of one embarrassing moment, when I was really young, probably 10 or 11 years old, I remember whiffing 4 consecutive times on the first tee. I just couldn't get off the tee. I was almost in tears. But thankfully, no whiffs as of late. But certainly, especially this past weekend with the wind here in the Toronto area, lots of 4 calls for offline golf shots.
Nice.
That's funny.
Thanks for sharing.
I had it was a money match at Langara Golf Club, which is one of the munis around here, and we get on the first hole and call out our games. I can't remember who I was playing with at that time, but I lined up on the left side of the marker, and the marker was, I didn't realize it was in play, but I topped my shot, ball hit the marker and disappeared, and I just couldn't for the life of me find it. I had to hit another one and then start with 3 balls off the tee, and it was really frustrating. But there's one that I can think of right now that it was pretty embarrassing. How the hell do you hit the tee box marker?
Alan.
I remember Steve Pate did that once. Remember when he went right into he got really upset. He hit a shot, then he teed himself up right to the marker and smashed it. He got his fine. But I don't know if you ever guys saw that footage, but I'm sure you could find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, if you guys could tell me where I could find you on social media, maybe you could share your tags with me.
Yeah, I'm at Adam_Scully, my name, just Adam_Scully, or at Golf Talk Canada, both Twitter and Instagram, both avid users of both, and that's where you can find me.
And Mike?
I'm at DJ Mike Madness on Instagram, and Twitter is the same, and Facebook, I believe, is all the same. At ECS Agency is my business's Instagram handle as well.
Great. Kevin, are you on social media?
Okay. Well, to be honest with you, everything of mine is kind of under construction. I don't really have anything to tell you, but because of you, I have decided to do my own podcast.
Nice.
Fantastic. Absolutely. And I thought of it being called the smell test. You know that saying, does it pass the smell test? So that's one of the things that I'm going to, that's going to be the name of my show. So
awesome.
I look forward to that. I'm going to get it, I'll get that up and running, and I'll let you guys know what the handles and things like that are. Thank you.
That's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We'll have to arrange a foursome next time. I'm
Yes.
Nice.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
I'd love to join you guys.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
And for those of you,
hopefully you won't be I won't be hitting shots out of the bunker at 18 at Glen Adams. So.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. And if our listeners or viewers want to see us, we're at PodcastLive on all social media streams. And for Adam Scully, Kevin Smellie, Michael Bleackley, I'm Rafael Kalamat, and you've been listening and watching PodcastLive with GolfCast. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, you're welcome.